This episode is brought to you by Resy and American Express. Resy is a digital platform that connects restaurants to restaurant lovers by elevating dining experiences, providing original industry content, and helping to fill some of the country's most exciting dining rooms. Because restaurants have always been more than just places to eat. The amazing world of restaurants is just a few taps away in the Resy app and at resy.com.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
I loved the idea that a recipe is a ritual. And as I sort of zoomed out and thought about that, I was like, oh yes, of course. Rituals are things that we hand down to future generations. They're things that we take from the people before us. And so are recipes. And it's a thing that sort of grounds us in our life.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Eliza Barbanel. Samin Nosrat is a chef, teacher, and author of the best-selling James Beard Award-winning cookbook Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and the star of the very popular titular documentary series on Netflix. Now she's back with a truly excellent new cookbook, Good Things. Today on the show, we go deep on the journey that led her to writing Good Things, why recipes are like rituals, and the dishes she makes at home on repeat.
And at the top of the show, it's the return of Three Things, where Eliza and I talk about what is exciting us in the world of restaurants, cookbooks, and the food world as a whole. Eliza, we are back with Three Things. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Good. You want to start?
I can start, yeah. I have been trying to go to some of the new openings here in New York, and I went to Wild Cherry, which is the new restaurant inside the Cherry Lane Theater.
Yes, you did. I've lots of discourse around this restaurant.
Really?
I mean, that was very loaded. You know what? I'm going to take that back. It's not like discourse like the capital D, like there's negative and positive. A lot of conversations and the review I read, and just it's the hottest restaurant in New York right now.
Yeah, certainly a lot of people are trying to eat there. I think Sabrina Carpenter ate there the night after I was there, which I was bummed I didn't get to see her. I went for kind of a work dinner, which was fun because I didn't have to deal with getting the reservation. But I really enjoyed just getting to look at the room and see who was there. It seems like it's been very quickly embraced by the neighborhood. There are a lot of couples, even some families that were chatting at the front, figuring out when they release reservations if they can come in, and obviously people that are going to see a show or a movie at the Cherry Lane Theater, which, as listeners may know, was a long-running theater that was purchased by A24 movie studio and kind of revamped, and this restaurant is a new part of it from the team behind Franchette, Le Roc, and Le Veau d'Or. Yep. I thought it was really delicious. It was very loud. I would not go there if I really wanted to catch up with somebody or if I was dining with somebody that was hard of hearing. But if you don't care about that, then it's a perfect place to slide into a booth. Yep. Their cheeseburger, I think, is definitely what they're known for. Red beans and rice was quite good, and also the only vegetarian option on the entire menu, I would say, except for this really delicious beet salad as well. Frog legs, Kiev. I love a place that's doing frog legs. Yeah. I thought that was super good. And they also are doing a steak dinner for two that's kind of fun. So you get a Denver cut with a salad and baked potato and dessert kind of as a set meal. So I think that would be a really fun kind of date night thing to come back for.
I'm trying to land the cuisine because it's comfort. It's nostalgia for a lot of U.S. American.
I would say New York brasserie style.
Yeah, New York brasserie, sure.
I mean, clearly the team has this French background, and I think having the frog legs on the menu and even the steak or the cheeseburger is kind of in that space. But I think it's worth coming back and eating more things.
The only vegetarian is the beet salad?
The beet salad and the red beans and rice.
The red beans and rice? Guys.
Which I think French restaurants can be maybe a little challenging for vegetarians. But somebody that I was with was vegetarian. And I figured I would just give those kinds of super fun, delicious food, kind of loud, not a lot of vegetarian options.
And Cherry Lane is in the last decade has been really well known for hosting the off-Broadway debuts of a lot of one person shows and very, very cool list of it's a great theater. I've seen lots of great things there, and it's A24 buying it is exciting that they're kind of going offline with this legendary theater.
Yeah, and I think you hear that and you think that maybe they're doing only A24 movies, but that's not necessarily true. They're doing
Yeah.
a wide range of programming,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
on one of the most romantic little side
cute.
streets in the West Village. So I'm very happy to see it open.
Yeah, I can't wait to go there. Well, my first thing is I'm going to stick with like the buzzy restaurant kind of notion, and I went to Babbo, the new Babbo, the
How
Babbo
was
2.0. A lot of people texted me because I was at an event we were doing like before, and people like text me what you think. Here's what I texted: 8 out of 10, and that's a positive review. And to remind folks, Babbo is the restaurant that Mario Batali became famous for, and after all the stuff came to light about Batali, really had a dark shadow over the physical space. Once everyone who was involved with Babbo had left, and now it's a Steven Starr restaurant, so it's not even owned by the group that owned it before. So it's like kind of all that bad stuff is gone. It still does have a shadow, kind of rolling into this opening. And, Mark Ladner was an interesting choice. And, Mark Ladner was the chef at Del Posto, which famously got 4 stars from the New York Times and was, one of our most regarded restaurants in New York and the first Italian restaurant to get 4 stars. So really, really legendary chef. Mark also worked at Lupa, and even before that worked at Babbo at the pasta station as a young cook. So he has a kind of a connection to the space. I am just really, really happy to see Mark Ladner cooking in a restaurant in New York. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is our reservation was for 9:45, and that shit was popping. It was busy. And I got to meet Tizzy, who is the maitre d' and Mark's life partner, and just a wonderful human. I just loved catching up with her. And I had read about her in the New York Times, and I was like, I got to meet Tizzy. She sounds rad. She ran a restaurant in Milan, and Mark and her had met 5 years ago or so, and are now partners in the restaurant and in life. And great catching up with her. And so we dined upstairs, which is where I had dined at Babbo previously. I was thinking back. I think the first time I went was like in 2004 for Restaurant Week. I was so excited. I mean, it was like finally going to Babbo for like the price that I could afford at the time. I went there in 2011 and had the pasta tasting. And really coming out of those meals, and I was texting with some friends about this, I felt horrible coming out of Babbo. The food was so rich. It was packed with butter. It was really not great. And while I enjoyed having sweetbreads for the first time in 2005 and really, going to a restaurant that I read about in Heat, and at the time before I knew anything about Batali, I was just really excited about. I felt really awful. I'll say I ordered a lot of dishes. It was a really nice meal I was sharing, and I felt great leaving it. I think the food has a lot of dexterity. It's very, I would say, considered from the preemie courses, the early courses, all the way to the meat courses and the pastry. Some highlights for me. I got a hot tip that the beef tartare was what to order, and I did. It had a mustard zablione with these house-made potato chips, and it was a perfect combination of seeing steak tartare on the menu. They do a 27-day, at least on the day we were there, minestrone. And what they're doing, and Mark has been very crafty. Mark is the guy who did the 100-layer lasagna at Del Posto famously. So he's doing kind of the Solera method with minestrone, keeping that mother stock in there and replenishing it every day. And I think that number will keep rising as the restaurant operates. And I think we were there on the 27th day. I really, really liked the pastas, the two I had. I had one dish that was previously on Babbo's menu. It was a mint love letter, and it was kind of just a small folded sheet pasta with a lamb sausage, a very spicy lamb sausage. Really beautiful work there. We had a cavatelli with rabbit ragu as well. And for the meat course, we just had a kind of a ribeye cap, cut, sliced thin, nice sauce, really well presented, delicious. And honestly, I went with more of the sweet zablione for dessert. And in this version, they were serving it with a sour cherry at the bottom. So you're scooping up this kind of Bodino pudding-like creamy custard with these long, they call them cat's tongue cookies. And you're scooping them, and every bite has a little bit of cherry in it. And great pastry. So again, 8 out of 10. I mean, I'm being hard here. I probably could be 9. I really liked the food. I thought the vibe, I was there late, so it's kind of quiet at the end. I can't wait to read what the critics think, though. I'll be very curious.
Yeah, I'm interested as well, but I'm glad you had a good meal.
Thanks, Liza. What's your next thing?
My next thing is I want to give a shout out to the new issue of Vittles, the print magazine that is available for pre-order right now. So I have not read the issue, but I was checking out the theme and the contributors, and I just had to get my copy. And I think that listeners would feel similarly. This is the really, incredible UK-based food newsletter that I recently did an episode with Jonathan Nunn about on the show, and he mentioned a little bit that they were working on this new magazine. It's going to be shipping in December, I believe, and the theme is bad food. So mold, MSG, aspartame, red 40, and what they say is, quote, the worst Michelin star restaurants in the world. All really fun topics.
Here for that. Let's get Jonathan to talk about it.
I love hearing food people talk about things that maybe would not be traditionally covered in a food publication. Yeah. And they have a lot of great UK-based contributors, as is their conceit, but they also have some interesting Americans on the list, which I was tickled to see. So Pete Wells, Helen Rosner, and the poet novelist Jana Hevda are a couple of those names that jumped out to me. I'm very excited to spend some more time thinking about bad food.
It's cool that they came back so quickly with a second issue, too.
Yes.
As you know, being the editor of a print publication, it's not easy.
It's not easy, and I think to be doing the work of running a newsletter and then also thinking about a different form and how you might be kind of playing with things differently in that context is always kind of fun to see.
I love it. We got to get them back on. That was a great conversation with Jonathan, by the way.
Yeah,
really
I loved it. I'm glad you did too.
Yeah.
What's your next thing?
My next thing is I am going to speak about a chef, and I've never tried his food. It's a rare occurrence, but I just have to say I finally met Cheyenne Zakari of Shy's Burgers. Do you know his work at all?
Yeah.
You're laughing?
No, I love him. What a man. What a mustache.
Yeah, what a mustache, what a guy. And I've been trying to get to the pop-ups. And I've been promising over Instagram, I can make it, but none of the dates have lined up. And so I was waiting to talk about Shy's Burgers before I try the burgers. And I'm going to have him on because he's got a great story. And by all means, I've heard the burgers are great. But we chatted. I got to catch up with him, and I found out some things about what he's thinking about, and I love it all. First off, he is really, really ride or die with the Kraft Deluxe on all burgers, which is, I think, the only choice for a cheeseburger is Kraft singles. So first off, thank you, Shy. I love that choice. He started his journey as a pop-up chef, and I know he's looking for brick and mortar. He's talked about it for years, and maybe when he's in the studio, we'll talk more about that search. But he tried Minetta's Burger, J.G. Mellon, Petey's on Long Island, Red Hook Tavern. He really did the work to kind of figure out what burger he was going to serve at these events, and he's landed on a smash burger with very high quality beef from Foster Sundry. And I just love his energy, and it was just cool to meet him. So shouts to Shy's Burgers. Follow him on Instagram. I'm linking it in the show notes, and you can definitely check out his pop-ups.
Yeah, I think Shy's Burgers are so great and have become kind of a fixture of certain downtown events. So when he does get his own brick and mortar, it'll be nice for everyone to not have to wait in such a long line.
I feel it's like Chrissy's energy a little bit. When it opens, it'll have a lot of that around it. But I think he really has a strong point of view and strong opinions. Some I'm not going to even say on the microphone right now. So I love it.
Okay.
What's your next thing?
My last thing is I just want to shout out a really fun product that I think is cool. It is a Thai green curry brick called Uncle's Big Green Curry that my buddy Brendan has been developing for years. He is American Thai and has been going back to Thailand to see his family and go to the factories and basically try to figure out how can you make a freeze-dried version of a Japanese curry brick but with Thai green curry instead. And the resulting product is just so cool. It's really flavorful. It has green Thai chili, lemongrass, macroot lime leaves, galangal, turmeric, and spices along with coconut milk that's been freeze-dried. So you basically can just put it in water. It already has the thickness and the body to it. He's been posting a lot of cool recipes on his Instagram, making chicken katsu curry, things like that with it. And they sell online, and also they have some stockists here in New York and increasingly nationwide. I just think it makes so much sense to offer this kind of product in that format, but it's not something that I've seen before. So I'm happy for Brendan and for the curries that I'm going to be making.
I love the sounds of this. And Eliza, this is wild because my next and final thing is in such a similar vein.
Okay.
And you speak highly about it the same way I will speak highly about it. I'm going to talk about Cumin Club, which is freeze-dried sauce packs made in India. Similar idea. So you're using products and flavors produced in India and using that freeze-dried technology, just add water to bring these these flavors and these sauces to the home kitchen at ease. They offer over 35 products from all over India using all the regions. They sent me dal tadka, yellow lentils, and palak paneer, spinach curry. They're super flavorful and really easy to use. And you can buy them on Amazon and retail like Walmart. And it's funny, it's cool that we kind of we don't share these before we talk. But I think I'm drawn to products made in India and bringing these flavors to the home with ease, with real the cook in mind. So I love that.
Yeah, I feel like it's that time of year where I'm cooking at home even more than before, and sometimes I don't want to have to go to the store. So having something on hand that kind of makes it easier to get yourself to dinner is always a good thing. So I'm not surprised we're both kind of thinking in that vein.
Same way, same angle. Well, thanks for sharing your 3 things.
You too.
If you're like me, your skin needs some extra care this time of year. All that cooking for family and friends has me busy dipping into my favorite cookbooks, like Alison Roman's new Something from Nothing. I love her tomato kimchi soup a whole lot. This busy season also has my skin in a pretty interesting place. That's why I've continued to rely on OneSkin. I love their OS1 body formula, and it's been invaluable to have a daily routine that delivers both powerful skincare and longevity benefits, all in just a few simple steps. OneSkin also just launched their limited edition holiday sets, including the Nightly Rewind gift set, which is one of those rare gifts that's both impressive and genuinely useful, providing an upgrade to anyone's nightly routine. Featuring their best-selling face moisturizer and their new peptide lip mask, each component of the set is designed to work together as your body enters its natural nightly repair mode, helping renew skin at the cellular level for a stronger, smoother, and more resilient skin. For a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. Today's episode of This Is Taste is brought to you by Grow Therapy. I'm a big believer in therapy and think everybody should get the help they deserve. But have you ever tried to find a therapist online and were more stressed out by the simple act of finding a therapist? I certainly have. There's the cost, the scheduling, and of course, finding the right fit. Finding a therapist is not that simple. Grow Therapy makes it way less overwhelming and way more affordable. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits your needs. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. It's that easy. And you can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your own time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/taste today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/taste. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan. If you're like me, your skin needs some extra care this time of year. All that cooking for family and friends has me busy dipping into my favorite cookbooks. I've been working my way through the re-release of David Leibowitz's Ready for Dessert and eyeing his nectarine raspberry upside-down gingerbread cake and buckwheat chocolate chip cookies. This busy season also has my skin in a pretty interesting place. That's why I've continued to rely on OneSkin. I love their OS1 body formula, and it's been invaluable to have a daily routine that delivers both powerful skincare and longevity benefits, all in just a few simple steps. OneSkin also just launched their limited edition holiday sets, including the Nightly Rewind gift set, which is one of those rare gifts that's both impressive and genuinely useful, providing an upgrade to anyone's nightly routine. Featuring their best-selling face moisturizer and their new peptide lip mask, each component of the set is designed to work together as your body enters its natural nightly repair mode, helping renew skin at the cellular level for a stronger, smoother, and more resilient skin. For a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co.
Samin, Nosrat, this is Taste. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I feel like, was I the first
You were.
person on the first episode of this show?
I was about to say you
Yeah.
were the very first guest on the Taste podcast in 2018.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to have you back. I was not your interviewer.
Yeah, no.
But it's so crazy. I mean, so many things have changed in the world, like in your own career. How does it feel to be back?
Well, last time I don't think I did it in person, so it's my first time here with you.
In the
Feels great to be back.
studio.
Yes.
Well, I typically start off the show by asking my guests to tell me a food story from growing up. I think a lot of people listening probably feel like they know you or know about you, but I'm still wondering if you would tell me a story that you think somehow encapsulates the Samin point of view.
Let me try and think of one I haven't told a million times. This is not from my early childhood, but I think this is a pretty good one. So I've been to Iran 3 times, and since it's such a big trip, you know, one usually goes for like weeks to months. And so the first time I went, I was 14, and we went for the whole summer with my brothers. We went with my mom. And then when I was in college, I did my year abroad in England. And so I took like 2 months away from the school year, and I did like my independent study, and I went to Iran in the spring by myself, like to visit my family. So I was not wandering the streets alone, but I didn't go with anyone. And because I was still technically in school, I I still had schoolwork to do. I had to write a play. I had a bunch of writing I had to do. So I tried my best to treat it like a job. So I would go to the office with and I say that with quotation marks, with my uncle to his place of work. And the sort of lunchtime tradition there in offices is that they order lunch out from a restaurant. But like the main type of restaurant in Tehran are cello kebab restaurants, like rice and kebabs. And like each sort of office or place has their own pot. So you send your pot to the restaurant, they fill it up with food, and then you bring it back, and everyone eats rice and kebabs for lunch. Which, like, Persian kebabs are so great. Persian rice is so delicious. But like after eating this every day for so many months, at some point I was like, I can't eat any more kebabs. So I just went on a rice and butter diet. I was like cello kare is butter. So I was like cello kare. And I feel like when I was leaving, they're like, yeah, you're rounder. Like they're like, all that rice and butter really like chubbied you up. But it was a good 2 months of just like the most delicious rice and butter.
Yeah, I like how instead of trying to bring something else from home or like go out to
there
get
was no
food,
options. Yeah.
you just like admitted the key part of it from the diet.
Yeah.
How do you feel about rice and butter today?
Oh, I would say it's like my top comfort food still.
Yeah. There's something about it that like it is truly the most, it's like buttered noodles, but better somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, and also all forms of rice and butter. Like I rarely at home for myself make a pot of Persian rice because there's so many steps involved. But I almost always have the rice cooker going. And so and I have one of those little Japanese ones that keeps the rice warm.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually if it's going for breakfast, I'll just have like a bowl of rice with butter and soy sauce.
Yeah. Something I really appreciated in your new book, Good Things, is you kind of admit to being wrong about rice cookers. And I've had the exact same experience where I've not a lot of counter space here in New York. I'm very anti-single-use appliance. And then when I had a rice cooker come into my home, I was like, oh, I've been wrong this entire
It's
time.
amazing. It's amazing. It's an incredible, truly, like that was where I sort of changed my mind, was when we were in Japan for my show. I kind of realized like every house has one, and there's just warm rice at all times.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing better than that. Yeah.
It's a good way to live.
Yeah.
You're much closer to rice and butter.
It's true.
So we're here to talk about your new book. I'm wondering if you would tell me a little bit about how you first began thinking about the idea of what this book would become.
It's been a long journey, like almost as long as since I was here last. And so, and I was here last in a time of a lot of press and sort of visibility. And that was around the time that I sold a proposal for a new book. And, I was riding this big high of having created this like philosophical tome about cooking. And I wanted to do it again. So I proposed another book that sort of organized the kitchen into 4 constraints, 4 elements that help. And if you could familiarize yourself with these constraints, you could make the best decision about what to cook in any given scenario. And then I sat down to write that book, and I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by my life and just what I had just been through, and the sort of like emotional and physical and psychic toll that it had taken on me to be so visible, to be traveling on the road for, I did probably almost 2 years of press once my book came out and then the show came out. But also, like, leading up to that, I had worked on Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, the book. We had started working on the show and developing the show before that book even came out. So I went straight from my book tour for Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat into making the show. And then I went straight from making that show to promoting that show, and then traveling basically all over the world for the next year and a half. So I was exhausted. I was really, really exhausted in every way, and really depleted. And I don't think you can make anything creative from a state of depletion. Mm-mm. And so I kind of knew I needed to give myself probably at least a year off. And I had written to my speaking agents and said, I don't want to do any events in 2020. Please don't put anything else on the calendar. I just want to stay home and garden. And then I got my wish.
Yeah. It's all your fault.
Yeah. And inside of that, I was trying to find my way to this book idea and to how to organize it. And I had all of these really ambitious ideas about how to sort of collect and distill the information. Because I do think, I'm not the most skilled cook in the world. I'm not the best writer. But I think one of the skills that I have that is sort of, I would say, unique to me, or maybe I specialize in, is I'm really good at collecting and distilling and organizing information and then communicating that back out. So that was my plan for this. But as I started to do it, I realized that what I was trying to collect and organize and communicate was so much more abstract than salt, fat, acid, and heat. And honestly, even in salt, fat, acid, and heat, salt and fat and acid were much easier to organize and write and think about than heat was, because they're material things. Mm-hmm. They're tangible, and heat is this ineffable sort of force of energy. And that took a lot more work for me to figure out how to write about. And here I was choosing these 4 sort of abstract, topics of time, resources, ingredients, preferences, and how to sort of universalize that felt like another 20 years of work when I sat down to think of it. And I kind of collapsed under the weight of that thought. So I asked the publisher, who is in this very building that we are recording in, to I would give him his money back, and I would not have to write this book. And they all said, it's okay. You don't have to write that book. You can write any book you want. But honestly, I was so melted down that any book felt impossible or just so far away. So I really had to come back to myself. And in doing that, I realized I had really lost my way. I had lost my own relationship to cooking, my own desire to cook, my own desire to really even eat. I felt so lonely and so sad, even apart from the pandemic, I felt lonely and sad. And then, of course, that heavy layer of loneliness and sadness on top of it. And then I was processing all sorts of my own sort of grief and personal history. And I felt like a shill, a capitalist corporate shill that was just trying to sell people something that I didn't have any desire to make. And I was like, why do I even need to write another cookbook? I already told you everything I know and believe about cooking. I have nothing else to say. And eventually one of my agents said, I don't know why you make it so hard. It doesn't have to be so complicated. You don't have to reinvent the genre every time. You could just write a book of recipes. And she didn't say it in a mean way. She meant it as in, your recipes are really nice, and it can be, people will be so happy with that. And I was like, absolutely not. I'll never do that. But it was once she uttered those words, then it got sort of planted in my head. And literally 1 week later, I was cooking something, and I was thinking to myself, wow, this is a really good, simple dish. If only I could share it with people. If only I had an efficient way to communicate this, this procedure and ingredients list to people. And so that sort of dawned on me that maybe I did want to do the thing that I had said I would never do. And so I kept that really private and I didn't tell anyone because normally I tell everybody, like when I have an idea, I call everyone 5 seconds later. And I just sort of kept a list of the recipes I would share if I was going to do this. And I realized it was just like the super simple stuff I made at home. But there really wasn't a why yet. And the why sort of came about over time as I realized like my why is to connect, is for connection. And so, and that things don't have to be the best or perfect or the most optimized, you know?
I was going to say aspirational.
Yeah, or aspirational. It can just be something so simple. And so in a way, you know, I was fighting so much of my own like inner critic to put, like I would be like, oh God, this carrot stick thing that I learned from my neighbor is so awesome. Like she puts rice vinegar and flaky salt on her carrot sticks and the kids love it. And I love it. And I'm like, I can't put that in a cookbook, you know, or, and then I was like, why not? And so I think every time I overcame my own inner critic and my own personal judgment of myself, it was also in hopes that like showing, basically I'm like, if people see me doing less, they'll feel empowered to do less. Like everything doesn't have to be the best. It just needs to be sort of a means for gathering or a means for sharing time.
Yeah, this is a very, like, I think, attractive quality to look for in a cookbook. I think often I look at my cookbooks and I think it looks beautiful, but, you know, when am I going to take the time to make that? And I think to look at a cookbook and see things that you don't have to make the time for, like the time is already there, is really appealing. I was thinking about this Buckminster Fuller quote when I was reading the book, which is a very, like, crunchy thing to say, but it's basically more and more with less and less until you can do everything with nothing.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I feel like it speaks to the Bay Area. More and more with less and less until you can do nothing with everything.
I love that.
And he was like a whole earth catalog, you know, kind of like new wave thinker. And I think like, especially as life gets louder and busier, that's a nice thing to return to.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Oh, I'm going to write that down.
That's like the title of the next book, maybe. I think there might be one out there kind of like that. But I like this kind of idea about a recipe book, a non-recipe book, because even the kinds of recipes in this new book, there's not just one format. There's like a very loose kind. There's a more kind of formalized one. Were you always kind of thinking about playing around with like, what does the recipe form actually mean?
I don't know that I was that sort of like clearly making that clear of a conscious decision about it, but it was more that every time I would rub up against my own discomfort with the format of a recipe for a particular type of food, because it wasn't allowing me to communicate the thing that I actually thought was important, then I let myself choose a different format. So, for example, I would say the vast majority of the recipes in the book follow the traditional list of ingredients, list of steps format.
Yeah.
But then there, you know, when it comes to making vegetables, I rarely, you know, I almost always roast or boil or saute them. So it felt insane in a chapter organized by vegetable to page after page repeat myself, roast this, boil this, roast this, boil this.
Preheat the oven.
So, so I sort of did a primer at the beginning for all of those, and I listed like how to do which, and I sort of gave tips if there were any outlying things. But then as I went into the vegetables, basically each vegetable section becomes a little like guide for how to like choose and shop for and select those ingredients, and then a handful of things to do with each. But that's written in the sort of more paragraph, like Joy of Cooking format, where the ingredients are bolded in line. And that's honestly so that the book wouldn't be 45,000 pages long. Like that was for like efficiency of space.
Yeah.
And then, but also because I think with vegetables, very little of the time are the kinds of specifics and precision that we need in, say, a bread baking recipe necessary. So that worked there. And then I also wanted to communicate like possibility, and that I did in the form of these matrices, which come throughout that vegetable chapter. And in the dressings chapter, which like, it was definitely a choice to have just dressings, but that was because I didn't want to assign a dressing to a particular salad and sort of set you on your way that this is your thing that you always make. I wanted to show you these things are versatile and you don't have to like blue cheese. If you don't like blue cheese and persimmons the way I do, you can put this dressing on 55 other things. So I gave a minimum of 3 suggestions for each dressing to sort of like inspire you and lead you on your way. And then, that's about it. There aren't too many and there are a few sort of narrative recipes. But other than that, the vast majority do follow the classical format.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all of the matrices in the vegetable chapter. You have like a fall roast vegetable matrix. There's a summer salad matrix. So there's kind of different formats about that. But I really want to talk about the salad dressings because I think salad dressing does not get enough love. Or a lot of people have I have one house dressing that I make for basically everything. But I've tried a couple of the dressings in the book and specifically the lemon poppy seed dressing.
So good.
It's fucked up. I have fed it to so many people.
It's so good.
Why is it so good?
I don't know. I mean, there's an amazing restaurant in LA called Kismet, and they have a little side, like their to-go place that I love. Their roast chicken place is called Kismet Rotisserie. It's one of my all-time favorite. Like if Kismet Rotisserie was around the corner from my house, I'd eat there every other day, I think. Mm-hmm. And they have roast chicken and pita and tons of vegetables and dips. And this is their they have, not this actually, but they have this lemon miso poppy seed dressing that they put on their salads. And I love it so much. And I wrote to them and I said, can I please have your recipe? I will write a love song to you in this thing and share it with the world. Everyone needs to know this. And they're like, thank you so much, but no, you can't have it because we have to publish our own book, which is a great book.
Yeah, is it in their book?
It is in their book.
Okay.
I mean, there are versions in their book. And so because they didn't give it to me, then I was like, I still need this. So I just did my best to reverse engineer it. But normally in reverse engineering, I would, have the thing right next to me so I could taste as I go and sort of cook toward that. But I live, 400 miles away from Los Angeles. And so I had to do it from taste memory. So I think I did veer off a little. I think mine does taste, it's not exactly the same. And I know for a fact that they don't put celery seed in theirs. And there were just some things. But I think because it's creamy, I love that it's creamy, but also the miso is salty and umami. There's so much lemon. There's so much lemon zest. I do think the maple or agave syrup makes it really nice, but it has just, it's it's so rounded out in your mouth.
I can taste
so
it
good.
right now as we're talking about it. I bought celery seed for this one purpose.
I mean, it's a good, you miss it when it's not there. So.
Yeah. I think the aquafaba component is something that you really seem to be honing in on in this book. And I feel ashamed to say this because I cook with chickpeas a lot, but I do most of the time just toss out the aquafaba. Because what would I make with it?
Yeah.
What does the aquafaba do for the dressing?
It, aquafaba is just the bean cooking liquid. And I prefer to use the chickpeas. It's my preferred aquafaba is the one that comes with chickpeas because it's kind of the most neutral in color and in taste. And it's very high in protein, having sort of been the liquid of these beans. And it's a great substitute for egg whites or sometimes even whole eggs because it is so high in protein. And so in that way, it can thicken a dressing just like an egg can. But it's a non-egg or non-dairy option, which was, I did try for a time to be a part-time vegan. That sort of imploded because I love dairy so much. Mm-hmm. But I also, as I get older, I find my eyes are drawn to rich, heavy, crusty, frizzy, yummy, crusty, yummy. All the things that I've always wanted to eat. But then there's this other voice inside of me that's that's going to hurt your belly. You're just going to spend the rest of the day in a digestion coma. And so there's a way that my older, better self has sort of prevailed with this idea and inspiration that I should try and come up with dressings that make salad really enticing for me, but don't feel like they're going to bomb my gut.
Mm-hmm. And then you basically make I can't remember the word for this.
An emulsion? A mayonnaise, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You essentially just use... I mean, the other thing that has become my number one delight in life is the immersion blender. like the hand blender. And so that's a great tool for sort of starting this like basically a non-dairy mayonnaise base with the aquafaba that becomes the creamy base into which you build the dressing.
Right. And I would normally not be somebody who would get my immersion blender to make a salad dressing, but I think this salad dressing is truly so worth it. And then it kind of reframes, like typically I would buy a can of chickpeas to use the chickpeas and then maybe...
Now I'm like, give me the aquafaba.
Right. So what are you doing with all these chickpeas? You're buying like cans of them.
I know. I did put that for precisely that reason. I have a whole section in the book of like, what do you do with all these chickpeas? So, I mean, mostly, honestly, I make either hummus and I also like a chechi soup. So, but yeah, you can't go wrong with that kind of stuff. But
yeah, you have like a crispy chickpea recipe in the book, which I have always been trying to make them and they never get as crispy. And then I was reading your recipe and it says to sit them out for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I think you let them dry out in the like, or you could also dry them out in the fridge too. And anywhere where there's like dry air circulating, it helps.
And then when you put them in the oven, they've already kind of had that head start. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, these are some of my personal revelations.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I really enjoyed the kind of culinary ritual component of the book. Can you maybe explain like what that is to you and maybe what they look like in practice?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, the idea of ritual came out of thinking so much sort of about recipe. Like I just turned the word recipe over in my head for so long because I felt like I had to justify for myself and for the world why I was writing a book of recipes. After writing a whole other book that told you not to use them or that you could cook without them. And so I spent a lot of time just with the idea of a recipe and the word recipe. And one of my favorite sort of like, I guess, descriptions of what a recipe is from this poet and pie maker named Kate Lebo. And she writes, recipes are rituals that transform. And I loved that. I loved the idea that a recipe is a ritual. And as I sort of like zoomed out and thought about that, I was like, oh yes, of course, because rituals are things that we hand down to future generations. They're things that we take from the people before us. And so are recipes. And it's a thing that sort of grounds us in our life. And as I sort of had spent these several years really re-examining my own life and what I was doing with my life and also how, if in any way, cooking and writing about food could fit into that life, I sort of learned that one of the reasons I felt so ungrounded and unmoored in my own life was that I didn't have a deep rooting in anything, in any sort of community or in my own life, in my own daily life in any meaningful way. And I thought and read a lot about this, and I think ritual is a way for people to get a sense of meaning. And because often rituals, like I said, are passed down from families, or another source for this type of like really grounding, rooting ritual is religion. And I don't practice religion, and I also come from a really splintered family, and there's not a lot of that kind of stuff that was passed down to me. So I've been making it all up as I go along my whole life. And so I was like, well, I guess I have to find a way to create this now for myself so that I do have a sense of meaning in this world that feels so chaotic and huge. And I had for a long time wanted to come up with some sort of weekly dinner ritual, which is not by any means like an original idea or anything like that. And even in the years past, I had tried to sort of start or participate in something like that. And for a million reasons, including my schedule, or I didn't have a big enough living room with a dining table, or just I didn't know who would come, and all my friends have kids and logistics, like it just never happened. And instead, there was this other way that I started having dinner with a group of friends who were not my closest friends once a week, sort of coming out of the pandemic, sort of by accident. And we just kept doing it because it felt really nice. And we didn't put a name on it. And it was just a thing like, are you coming back next week? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And so we had probably been doing it for 6 or 8 months before I realized, oh, I created the thing that I had wanted to create. It just doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. And I thought it would be on Sundays, but here it is on Tuesdays, now Mondays. I thought it would be at my house. It's not at my house. I thought it would look totally different. I thought it would be a lot more complicated and burdensome. And it's not. And so I thought if it had been up to me, I would have probably invited a totally different list of people. I thought I would be doing everything, and none of those things ended up being true. So
yeah, sometimes it's nice to not be like the main character in the moment and to be the really fun like guest star.
Totally. And I think, but because I'm not the main character, I think that actually I learned a lot. I learned a lot that I probably wouldn't have learned if I had been, orchestrating it, hosting it, planning it, and like managing it. And so in this way, it came together in a much more collaborative way. I think, and in a much more, I think, beautiful way because I'm not in charge. And like, and so, and it's, I don't know. And I wouldn't have dared, because it's at somebody else's house, it never occurred to me to try to like manage it. And because that just never became part of the picture, I could just show up, which was really a gift to me.
And be able to show up in whatever way you can that week.
Yeah, which is not always. Sometimes I do bring the whole meal or most of the meal because I'm testing a recipe or I had some ambition or something. But sometimes I don't make anything. Sometimes, we have a totally cobbled together meal of whatever. Sometimes, other people have invited guests and I just show up. Other times I bring 5 people, it's different every week and it's just what it can be, which is really the nicest way to have it.
Yeah, when you're writing about it in the book, you're talking about Shabbat and this phrase, castle in time, which I was raised Jewish, so that's a very familiar thing for me, and I don't do any kind of weekly dinner, Friday or not, but thinking about that, I feel like we all are looking for that like castle in time where you're not thinking about the next thing you have to do or who's going to do the dishes or any of those things.
Yeah. It is, and it becomes this thing it's like a time in the week that we carve out, and it becomes like a physical, holy place in a way, just because by nature of giving the time that much priority in our life. And so that, it's really, I'm pretty much done with my tour. I've been to like 30 cities, and in every city, the audience asks questions, and, a lot of them are tongue-in-cheek and whatever, and they put them on cards, and we sort of go through them. And in one of the last cities, somebody was, and a lot of times I think people just write something just to write something. They're not even trying to ask a thoughtful question.
They just want you to read it.
Yeah, and so somebody wrote, like, what is the meaning of life? And the person interviewing me was like, what? Like, that's going in the discard pile. And I said, no, you should ask me. I have a good answer to that. He asked the question. I said, yeah, this is an insane question for someone to write because I don't know the meaning of life. But what I will say is that at the first book event in San Francisco, my entire Monday dinner family came. And the person interviewing me asked a lot of questions, and we talked about Monday dinner a lot. And I read some of the excerpts in the book about Monday dinner, and it really felt like the heart of that conversation, and it was really beautiful, and it was beautiful to honor the people, in person. And so that night, one of the kids from Monday dinner texted me and said, "Oh, okay, now I understand. Monday dinner is the meaning of life." And I was like, "Yeah, you got it." Like, it was really, it was really good.
My answer to that is maybe seems like a cop-out, but it's not like life is the meaning of life,
Yeah.
The daily act of everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's like the most special text to receive from a child.
It was truly, I retexted it back to their parents.
They must have been proud.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, yeah.
That's really sweet. When we were talking about ritual, I was just thinking about this other comparison you make with recipes, which is sheet music. And that was such a grounding moment for me, partially because I grew up playing music, so I know how to read sheet music, but I feel like it's a really good comparison because things get misinterpreted, right? Like maybe not everyone knows what an eighth note is, or it's a different key, and no one plays the same song the same way. The quality of your voice, your instrument, all make the difference, but the piece is recognizable as what it is.
Exactly. And so, in the first book, I used a jazz metaphor to talk about jazz musicians are really talented musicians who understand, right? They're trained in all the classics and all the basics. They have deep foundational knowledge of music. And then from there, they begin to innovate and improvise. And so it's the same thing with cooking. You have to understand these basic things, and from there you can learn you understand, these three things together make a chord, or these three things together make a sauce, right? Like there's just a way where it's like a beautiful and easy way to think about it. And I think food and cooking can feel so, even if you don't speak the language of music, which I don't, like there's a way I think we all can understand that metaphor in a way that sometimes cooking feels so huge and abstract, because then you think, all these global cuisines, and how could they possibly all have anything in common? And so it sort of landed, it made sense to continue with using music as a metaphor, because I think people have learned, I think we have all learned to expect the wrong things from recipes. And you think, I follow this recipe and I get the same result. But if you go to 2 concerts or 5 concerts by your favorite band in a row, they will not play the song the same way each night.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not, right? Like it's the same. You could even go to the most talented, symphony orchestra, and it's still, like, to the trained ear, it would sound different night after night. It's never the same. And that's for a million reasons, and it's not meant to be the same. But we have learned to believe that if it turns out differently, that's a failure. And I actually think the failure is not being able to attend to the moment, because being attentive in the moment to, like, are my tomatoes riper today than they were yesterday? Are these eggs fresher, and thus will require a different treatment? Are my lemons more acidic or less acidic? Is the parsley, is this bunch of parsley bigger than the other bunch of parsley? So when they say one bunch of parsley, this turns out to be something completely different. I think you have to tune in with your senses, and that's the ultimate sort of lesson. That's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. To be present in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is brought to you by Tempo. We are all really busy this time of year, and sometimes cooking is not an option, though we crave a healthy, creative, home-cooked meal that an Uber Eats delivery or slice of pizza isn't going to satisfy. Tempo is a smart solution. Delicious pre-made meals, creative and always interesting, arrive to your door perfectly portioned for lunch and dinner and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. I recently gave Tempo a try and was super impressed. No, for real, it's great stuff. The tomato bolognese and cavatappi with garlic parsley green beans was exactly what I wanted after a busy day. And the pulled pork sweet potato fajita bowl with rice and beans was the perfect meal after a busy day of interviewing chefs and writers in the podcast studio. Sometimes you just don't want to think about dinner. Tempo has the solution. With 20 meals available for delivery each week, mealtime is never boring. And for those macro counters out there, Tempo is a smart option. For a limited time, Tempo is offering This Is Taste listeners something pretty amazing. 60% off your first box. That's 60%, which is pretty close to free. Visit tempocooking.com/taste for 60% off your first box. tempocooking.com/taste. Rules and restrictions may apply. It's gift-giving season, and let me ask you, are you struggling? Is there somebody in your family who always gives the best gift, the gift everybody is talking about over brioche French toast after the gifts have been opened? This year, that could be you with Aura Frames. Aura Frames are great. They sent me one to check out, and it was really cool and dumb simple to set up. I loaded photos using the app, and it was displaying them instantly. There are no limits to the amount of photos you can load, and you can customize messages with each photo. And here's the deal. You can preload an Aura frame with photos and have it directly sent to that special person in your life, gift wrapped and all. There will be no price tag, and you can include a personalized message. Think about it. All those photos from this past summer's family reunion delivered in a digital frame. That is pretty cool. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code TASTE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code TASTE. This exclusive Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so order now before it ends. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Matt. My parents are scared to come to New York. They just think that the subways are always flooding and pizza costs $8 a slice. But that's not what New York is. There's so many beautiful sights for them to come and see, like the carousel in Dumbo or a shot from the ferry at sunset.
Oh man, I mean, New York is a great place, but you gotta sell them on it. Here's a thought. How about sending them some photos, but not over text, not over email? Send them a frame loaded with a bunch of cool photos from New York with subways that aren't flooded, that are actually running. And here's the way to do it. Aura frames. Aura frames are great. They sent me one to check out, and it was really cool and dumb simple to set up. I loaded photos using the app, and it was displaying them instantly. There are no limits to the amount of photos you can load, and you can customize messages with each photo. And here's the deal. You can preload an Aura frame with photos and have it directly sent to that special person in your life, gift wrapped and all. There will be no price tag, and you can include a personalized message. Think about it. All those photos from this past summer's family reunion delivered in a digital frame. That is pretty cool. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code TASTE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code TASTE. This exclusive Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so order now before it ends. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
You mentioned a little bit about how you can look at all these global cuisines and wonder if they have anything in common. I feel like reading the book, you honestly seem more drawn to the fact that all these global cuisines have a lot in common. Like your rice chapter has like 8 or 9 different versions of crispy rice or flavored rice. And I think like today, a lot of people are really interested in innovation and like can a recipe be completely new? And I feel like you almost have the opposite approach, which is like nothing will ever be
I'm like,
new.
there's nothing new under the sun.
Can we make anything new? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, of course, I mean, and sometimes I'm so I don't eat out a ton in restaurants, but sometimes people are like, you got to go to this place. And I go there and I'm like, whoa, that was really cool and different. Like, I've never seen anything like that. So, of course, like, there are great chefs innovating, and absolutely it's possible. But I think for like our day-to-day cooking, I don't think that innovation necessarily needs to be the goal. And that's not to say, like, we can't cook things that are new to us at home. That's more about curiosity and exploration, I think. Or just, sometimes you're because you're attending to your moment, say, and you don't have a lemon, but you have a lime, you do it this way and you realize you like it better, But I've always sort of believed there are like 7 recipes in the world. There's like everybody braises stuff. Everybody cooks their beans. Everybody cooks their rice. Everyone has a noodle. Everyone has a dumpling. Like and of course there are all the different like local cultural twists on those things. I love this book, Coconut and Sambal by Lara Lee. I really have not had any familiarity with Indonesian cooking until cooking from that book. And, a few times I've made like entire meals from that book, which is not something I do a lot, but like it's just everything. That book's so delicious. And you make stuff over and over and over again. You realize like, oh, I understand now. Like Indonesian food starts with this aromatic base of like ginger, shallot, lemongrass. Like that's their version of sofrito. Now I'm getting it. Like, you start to learn like, but I can understand this is what we do in Italy. This is what we do in Indonesia. We may treat it slightly differently. Here you might brown the crap out of it. There you don't. But like they serve the same purpose, which is to create the flavor base. And so if just thinking systemically, there are the things that we have to simmer until they're cooked through. There are the things that you taste good when they're browned on the outside. There's just some like universal truths, and that's exactly it. Is like everywhere you go, you'll find people doing it. Maybe they just have slightly different ways of getting there.
Yeah, I think that is really kind of exciting and comforting at the same time. And you even write about making cardamom ghee and feeling like
I invented something new.
And then you like go online, and of course it's like a cornerstone of Egyptian cooking. Totally. I can't remember. I did that recently with something, and I was so confident. I was like, this is like the new cronut. Like I am going to be rich off of whatever I did. And then I Googled it, and of course
it exists. I mean, that's happened to me so many times. There's a recipe we cut from the book, partly because exactly this, like, I like spent like 2 years. I was just making these like turkey meatballs over and over, these little like burgers. And at some point I was like, oh, what do I do with all the zucchini? I'll grate a zucchini into it to keep it moist. and I put like toasted sesame oil and soy sauce and ginger, and it was so good. We made these little Korean burgers and ate them with like kimchi.
Yum.
And I brought them over for Monday dinner. I was like, I have this great thing I've been testing. I've been working on it. It's so good. Everyone's going to love it. It's so good. And we made them, and Sarah was like, oh, this is just like Ottolenghi's legendary chicken and zucchini meatballs. And I was like...
As soon as you said zucchini, I was going to say this, but the flavoring is different.
Yeah, but still, I was like, and
He
I
also
truly,
probably didn't.
I was like, I'm a genius. And then, of course, not a genius.
But he probably also didn't like invent.
I mean, who knows? Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
just a very funny, you're like, there's nothing new under the sun, man.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I was curious, you did this home cooking podcast with Rishikesh Irway, whose other podcast I'm a big fan of as well, Song Exploder. Do you think listening to audience questions about home cooking kind of shifted what kind of recipe book you wanted to deliver?
I don't think so. I think it always helps for me to hear what people are doing, like what people want and need and where they are. So in that way, I think it informs how I think about cooking and like what kind of information belongs in a recipe because it will serve the audience the best. So I do love having that sort of access to people's. Yeah, I love like knowing about what people are confused about or thinking about or what they want to learn about. And I luckily get to learn that in multiple ways. You know, we have the podcast, but also just like
Real life.
yes, people stop me on the street or they email or whatever. And like there's just a way that information makes its way to me. I do not read recipe comments. But even in the New York Times, where I contributed a lot for a long time, like if there were particular comments that kept appearing, like the editors would make sure I knew so that I could adjust or modify a recipe. And then I would always be like, oh, this is the type of thing people need to know. So I do think in that way, having the feedback sort of on a broad scale has made me a better recipe writer. But I don't think it sort of informed the book's content or the direction. I think ultimately, like the thing I had to use as my North Star was, is this what I actually make at home? And is this what I actually love? Because there are a lot of times I get really insecure and distracted. And this is a big part of why I don't look at the internet that much anymore. But it's really easy to be like, oh, this thing's going viral. So-and-so did it that way. Oh, their book looks like that. You know, I need to be doing that too. And truly, I'm so insane that I was doing this kind of, I would just like pull these type of insecurity moves left and right up to the point we were like shooting the book. The day before, I was like, I saw something and I was like, oh my God, like I need to reinvent this I don't even remember what it was, but I remember
Dubai chocolate cheesecake or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Like I sent it to, I have this wonderful sort of colleague who's been working with me for over 20 years, Ellen Pellicano, who has her own
She's incredible.
cookie company. She's amazing. And she's kind of like the voice of sanity on my shoulder. And so I'd be like, Ellen, we have to redo everything about whatever. And she's like, no. She was always like, is that what you would actually do at home, or you're just being affected by some like Instagram meme? And so then I was like, oh, right. It's not what I actually do at home. And she often would point out, like, this doesn't sound like you, you know, in a recipe or on the page. She's like, why are you doing this? This isn't you. Because she knows me. She has just been in my head and in my Google Docs for so long. Yeah.
That's such a gift to have somebody who
it's
can
a
keep
real
you
gift.
grounded
it's a
in
real,
that way.
real gift, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm curious, after writing this book and touring it, like, do you think that this has shifted or impacted your relationship with cooking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been really lovely to see for so long, a book is something that exists in your own head, and that's it. Or in my case, in my head and Ellen's head. And so I had all these thoughts and ideas about how it might be received and hopes about how it might be received. But then it actually comes out. And then I get to talk to people who've looked at it and cooked from it and read it. And sometimes I'm surprised by like the things that stick out to them.
Like what?
And there are just ways where, like, last week I was in Iowa City and Carmen Maria Machado was like, I don't know, I can't remember if she said it, that I said it on the page or in another interview, but she was like, you talk about, this idea of coming together as almost like a radical act. Like, do you really believe that in this time and age when like things are so dark and activism has to be so firm? Do you think that this is enough? And I was like, well, I don't think it's enough, not at all. But I do think, and then I sort of sat with it for a minute, and we had just been talking about sort of like capitalism and I don't know, like just billionaires and just darkness. And I thought, and something about all of that sort of clicked in my head. And I was like, well, you know, this thing we're talking about, another word for all of the way that the internet works is it's the attention economy, right? Like they want to capture our attention and then monetize it. So it feels like it's free because it feels like we're giving them something without value, which is our time and our attention. But actually, I think the premise of this book for me and the premise of sort of where I have tried to orient my life is understanding that my time and attention actually are the most valuable things that I have. And being the most valuable things that I have, they're the most precious gifts that I have to share with the people that I care about. And so actually then by that like logic, then like wresting back your time and attention from these forces is actually an incredibly subversive thing to do. And so there's just things like that where like I don't know that I would have connected dots for myself. But in terms of cooking, yeah, I mean, this really is really and truly the stuff I make at home. And so there's a way too, like I also had to sort of change what I thought a cookbook, I had to expand what I thought a cookbook was for and what a book is and what I had to, you know, this is the second time I've made something. So it's just a new experience at that, right? Like I doubled my experience of making something now. And it was so different in so many ways. And the first book, I really envisioned that it would be like the classic thing that belongs on everyone's bookshelf next to The Joy of Cooking, and that it would never go out of sort of, it would just be timeless. And so I tried to make all of these design decisions in terms of timelessness. And in a way, with this book, it's actually the opposite. It's capturing a moment and a time and a period in my life. And I've been aware of that too since I turned in the manuscript, because since these are things that I make at home and cook at home, they continue to evolve. So like the preserved lemon paste, which I love so much and I use so much, like I have continued to find a million more uses for it since I turned the manuscript in. And I was always like, oh man, I wish I could have told people about this. I wish I could have told people about that. Like, but it's just, you know, life goes on. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. And maybe the benefit of having made the timeless thing is that now you can make the thing that is a castle in time.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
I want to play a rapid fire game with you to close. So I'm going to make you
I'm
play some
notoriously
favorites.
bad at these, but yes, I'll try.
It's going to be great.
Okay.
One place you always like to go eat when you come to New York.
Ooh, my God, why am I blanking when I always have? I told you I'm not good at this. Oh, you know what? My new place is, like, I always like to go there is Sailor. I love that place.
That's great. A favorite cookbook right now that's not one of your own?
I mean, truly, broken record, but I really love Coconut and Sambal.
It's a really good book. I think anyone listening should check it out. 3 things that are always in your fridge.
Parmesan cheese, film, and ketchup.
Does the film go in like the butter drawer?
I have a really weird like eco-European. My kitchen's so tiny, so the fridge is like just 24. It's so little. It's so I have these like tiny weird little things in the door where the film lives. Yeah.
3 things that are always in your pantry.
Rice, many rices, tahini, and toasted sesame oil. Yeah.
Okay. Your go-to breakfast.
Oh man, I was just thinking about this today because I had 2 fried eggs on pieces of toast, and I was like, wow, this is a real switch for me because I do not have a go-to breakfast. I like some days I don't want to eat breakfast, other days whatever, but and then sometimes I get into ruts. So I'm a real breakfast wild card.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. Your favorite late night snack?
A spoonful of peanut butter with some chocolate chips on it.
Your favorite season for cooking?
Summer.
Your favorite special occasion restaurant in the Bay Area?
I wish it's really funny. My favorite special occasion restaurant is one I can never get into because you have to make the reservation system. It's so intense. It's called San Juan. It's so delicious. It's a Korean restaurant. It's so good.
You can't pull any strings?
I mean, I try not to. I don't.
Okay.
Maybe I could. I don't know. But
I think
like,
out
it's
of
like
anyone.
it's like you have to like be there on the moment and like do the button.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Your favorite farmer's market?
Oh, probably in Berkeley, there's a Tuesday market. That's like long been my favorite market. Yeah.
Your favorite bookstore?
I truly love them all. I don't
Every
know. There's
bookstore that carries your books, yeah.
No, anyway, like I truly love bookstores are where I like, and I grew up in San Diego, like a real suburb, sort of like a city of suburbs. I didn't have a car. Like I also didn't have a lot of money. So sometimes like my mom would drop me off at the shopping center while she went around and did stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I would just go into a Barnes & Noble or a bookstore, or whatever bookstore was there, and I would just spend hours like sitting on the ground reading everything I could possibly read. And even once I became a cook, like I was making like $12 an hour and hardcover books cost $24. So like I could not afford new books, but I always wanted to read everything. And so I would go sit in like chain bookstores, indie bookstores for hours and read new books. And that was often how I read books.
They're like, doesn't this kid know about a library?
Yeah. I mean, I went to libraries too, but like they just have everything like the minute it comes out.
Yeah, and it's right in front. You can go and read the back covers.
Yeah, nobody cares. Like, no, I mean, also libraries, obviously, but.
No, I feel you completely. Okay, a restaurant that you wish you could be a regular at?
I mean, oh God. See, I told you I'm so bad at this. I'm not good. Now I just want to say sailor, but like
I thought you would say Kismet Rotisserie.
Oh my God, Kismet Rotisserie! You're right. See, I'm just forgetting. Or Squirrel. Those are I like it. Every time I'm in Los Angeles, I go to Squirrel like at least once a day.
That's fair. Okay, finally, a fictional food scene, like from a book or a movie you wish you could eat.
The opening scene, the opening like 20 minutes of The Taste of Things is like the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Yeah.
I love that.
It's so beautiful. Everyone watch it. Watch it now.
Go home and watch it. Samin, this has been so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. What a nice talk. Thank you.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Matt Rodbard and me, Eliza Abarbanel. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Episode portraits by Louise Zergang Pomeroy. Logo design by Ellie Skurzat and Ian Dingham. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.